hard, flip over frontwards, land on my backside, and I'm laying there. I'm just crying. I'm scraped up, fucked up. I'm mad as hell. He finally make it down here because I'm just laying there crying. I ain't moving till he come get me. He comes to get me, and what's the first thing he say? You just don't listen to shit I tell you. What kind of fathering is this? Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm the oldest of 5, so this, so I'm getting the butt end of all of it. It's just like I'm the fucking test dummy. Hey, this is the test kid. Let's try her out. Let's see what we do. We fuck her up. We just know what not to do to the rest of them. I don't know what he was doing. Whatever the case, yet again, I didn't ride the bike again with his ass. Every other lesson he offered me, no. All I kept thinking is I can't wait till we get in the house so my mama can see how scraped up I am, because she gonna kick his ass when she see he didn't let me get fucked up like this. She went in on his ass when we got in the house. That kind of shit. Like, it's just, I didn't hate the man. It's just I didn't like him. I loved him because I knew he was my daddy, but it just wasn't like an emotional kind of thing. I don't think, I had daddy issues. He just sucked at the fucking job, and I just was like, I didn't like the dude. So I don't feel like that's what made me go looking for a man that could replace him or be better than what he was. I mean, shit, I'm a cougar. I don't like older men. Shit, my husband is 5 years younger than me, and I have never dated a man older than me. It had to be my age or younger than me, within the law and within my morals. Don't get it twisted. But that's another example. I didn't go looking for nobody to be my daddy. And as I got older, I wanted the things in a relationship that mattered, but he still had to be younger. I don't have no damn daddy issues. At least I don't think I do. And then they labeled men with daddy issues as just leavers. That was the only label they got. They had about 10, 4, 5, 6 of them for women, but just one for men. Man, get the fuck out of here. There has been an ongoing debate about single parenting by women being part of the daddy issue problem growing. Now, my daddy and the drugs, and the streets was married. We were second to the drugs and the streets. It had been this thing since he was young, and it had, didn't change when he got married and had children. And I know there are daddies out there who have a problem with women being celebrated on Father's Day. And again, not a daddy issue for me. My celebration was because she did the damn thing. Pat Jackson, I appreciated her for both roles, even though I didn't learn till I was older. But at the end of the day, I do believe a daddy is necessary for a child's life. Just not for no daddy issues type of shit. Like, she stood when she could, but when there were moments when simply being a daddy is what we needed, was to be a dad, needing a daddy, and she just didn't have the tools for that shit. Now, like, for instance, my husband's son, Lil Jerome, has a temperament like his dad, and as much as him and his baby mama don't get along sometimes, she still, knows to call, hey, your son wigging out, when he was younger, your son wigging out, he acting like that was a daddy thing where, I'm not saying that she couldn't have handled him had he gotten out of control, but she knew where that temperament came from. You got to remember, the kids are 50-50. That ain't all your DNA in there. Sometimes they're going to act like that other person, and when they act like that other person, hey, you got to keep it all the way real. It is what it is. You got to call them and, hey, this child is acting like you, and she did that. So wasn't a matter of, she couldn't be the mother that she needed to be to her son. It was a matter of, hey, this dude is acting just like his daddy. Let me call his daddy so his daddy can get his mind right and help him and show him that he understands where he's coming from. But this is what you got to do so you don't go down the wrong road kind of thing. That's it. So we have to, don't displace the fact that, I definitely believe a daddy is needed. I just don't believe that a lot of the issues that we have sometimes are defined by not having the daddy. The definition expresses men as leavers. My daughter daddy, raised her, but he loved the streets, took great care of her. And at the end of the day, the streets still won. He's in jail now because the streets won. They didn't love each other any less. They still talk. They have a good relationship, and she's just now finding a decent man, at least one that I really, really like. So I don't think it's a matter of just not having a daddy as part of your life. It's part of who you are and who you learn, who you learn you are from both sides of the family. I found men who love the streets because that was my circle. That's where I was from. I was living in the projects, raised in the projects. Even though I moved out the projects, I brought the projects right along with me. And when I did find people to hang with, it was people like the ones that I grew up with. So that's who I ended up with. It had nothing to do with a daddy issue, as far as I feel like, And even my husband is 5 years younger than me. And he act like an old man. And I love it. I don't know. I think it's just a matter of who you are, how you define the issues that you have, and how you deal with them once you come to terms with them. I didn't like my dad, but there was a lot about him that was within me. And instead of being like him, I decided to fix that. I don't think my daddy ever wanted kids, because if my daddy wanted kids, I think he would have tried a little bit harder at being a better dad. I never wanted kids. But instead of being that kind of dad or that kind of parent, I decided that I would work on being what I needed to be for my kids, instead of whatever the fuck he was, because parent was just not one of them. I mean, it even came to a point one time where, he stayed with me when I lived in Indianapolis. And I had even asked him at that point, like, why did you just cut out like that? Why ain't you, why, we still got to see my dad and, come visit him or whatever. But it was never like a case of where he was really just trying to be part of our lives. It would be years at a time where he'd disappear. Like I said, to a point to where my siblings really don't know him like I know him, and I barely knew him. And he straight up told me, hey, when you leave a woman, you leave the kids too. You leave the whole bundle. I mean, me and him got into a full out argument about that. I'm like, dude, are you for real? That's how you saw it. Then, then he tried to play the you don't know my side, and regardless of what your side is, you just basically said, if I ain't fucking with your mama, I'm not fucking with you either. So we had lost out when y'all got cracked out and decided y'all to go y'all separate ways. You was done with us at that point anyway. So I don't see it as having a daddy issue. I mean, even after that came out, shit, I ended up at the end of the day finding the best man that I could ever find. Jerome definitely is from the streets and has the option to go back to the streets whenever he wants to. He's a grown ass man. It's about choices. And he chooses to be here with me. Them streets, especially when the hustle is bad or when the money is low, that shit'll call him in the back of his head, because my man was in them streets hard back in the day. But at the end of the day, he know what's best for me. He know what's best for his kids. He know what's best for my kids. He know what's best for his grandkids. Shit, even the grandkids before the kids. He know what's best for us. So he chooses to be that man. So I don't think anything that my daddy did or any way that my daddy treated me had anything to do with who I chose as a mate. And definitely not who I ended up with as a mate. Because my husband is the total opposite of who my daddy was. And I'm not saying that my daddy was this terrible terrible man. I got so many things. He took good care of my mama. He spoiled my mama, and I saw the love between them. And I know what the life was like before the drugs. So I know he was a good person. He just was not, I don't know. Me and him just did not click. I don't know why we didn't click, but we just didn't. It was just, I don't know. So I digress. Either way, I feel like I got better once I started taking a deeper look at myself and the issues that I had gained over the years based off the experiences that I've been through, the people that I've met, and the trials and tribulations that I've gone through. That's the character that I had to face. It wasn't the easiest, but I did it. But I did it so that I can be a better person. Well, that looks like that's all the time we have for our session today. It has been wonderful talking to you guys today. I just want to be clear, when I started the healing process with my mental health issues, to look at myself was by far the hardest part of my healing. I examined my relationship with my father. I examined myself. I paid close attention to what I inherited from him and decided to fix those things that I felt like, were not beneficial to my character. And, to each his own. And, and that one's mine. So I don't have daddy issues, and that's all I know. Thank you again for listening to I Don't Look Like What I've Been Through with EJayShonte. I am EJayShonte, and until next time, talk to you then.